Joined this evening by Rob Portman, who is running for the United States Senate. We appreciate your time, Mr. Portman. Let me ask you a couple of questions to start. If you do make it to Washington, there's problems with the deficit. Yep. A lot of people have problems with spending. You're going to be one of 100 people if you make it. How do you think you specifically can not only do things with the deficit, but also bring things back specifically to Northwest Ohio?
Well, because I know that I've got the ability to do it, because I was in Congress for 12 years and did it. I've been out of government for the last 3 years, but I've worked across the aisle to get stuff done. My focus is going to be jobs in the economy, and also deficit reduction, because our spending is out of control, and we actually put our country in a very difficult situation right now where we're just spending so much more than we take in. 42 cents of every dollar the federal government spends now is borrowed money.
Wow.
We have to pay interest on that. But the big issue is jobs, and no place needs it more than Northwest Ohio. When you look at it,
you'll see that every time you walk around the areas. What kind of things can you do if the deficit's so high and government spending cuts back? Then, if that's the answer, what are you going to do to create jobs?
Yeah, I don't think government spending is the answer.
Okay.
The government has an important role to play, but the answer, I think, is private sector jobs. I spent this afternoon, as you know, over at Pilkington, which is the glass company.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about the cap-and-trade legislation that's been passed already in the House of Representatives and how bad that would be for Pilkington. They have $2.5 million a month on energy costs, for instance, and their costs would go up 20 to 60%, so they might have to shut down. So one is stop the bad stuff, like the increase in energy taxes, like the increase in taxes on small businesses, like the increase in health care costs. Unfortunately, the health care bill doesn't help them in terms of their costs, they told me. In fact, their costs are going to go up next year, they think as much as 20%. So, look, that's a great example of a company that can not just survive but thrive, but we've got to provide the right kind of climate, which is, smart regulations, not over-regulating, lower taxes, not higher taxes, keeping energy costs down by doing smart things to bring more energy into this country rather than using energy that we have. Having solar power here in Northwest Ohio is really important because we not only have First Solar and other companies like that, we do some great research here. The company I was at today, again, Pilkington, provides a coating that goes on solar panels, for instance, and they're doing that not just for Ohio, but really for the whole country. So there are opportunities, and the government doesn't create jobs, but the government can create a climate for job growth. And that's
but it's going to be difficult if the Democrats keep control of the Senate. That's going to be a difficult ride if you have one person, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, again, I think you can work across the aisle and get stuff done. I know that Chair Brown was in town today, for instance, a senator representing Ohio, along with George Voinovich. He's the Democrat, George Voinovich is the Republican.
Right.
And he was talking about worker retraining. I agree with him. Our worker retraining system isn't working. Ohio ranks 44th in the country now in terms of taking federal worker retraining dollars and actually putting them into skills training. And instead, it's going into a lot of bureaucracy. So there are ways we can improve that, and I'd love to work with him on that and work with other people on it. So there are ways you can work together to get stuff done, particularly with what's happened to the economy, where we've lost 400,000 jobs in the last 3 years here.
And the numbers, I mean, we've got counties here in Northwest Ohio that are 14, 15% unemployment.
Absolutely.
Do you see a time frame where that if you were able to get into office and some of those tax changes that you were talking about be put into place, where we could see positive direction with some of those numbers?
I mean, I think there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go but up right now. And you look at this county, Lucas County, for instance, there's 12% unemployment.
Oh, yeah.
That's doubled in the last 3.5 years. Same with Wood County. The unemployment has doubled in the last 3.5 years. So, I think by putting some of these pro-growth policies in place that say, hey, look, the number one focus ought to be jobs and the economy. It's good to deal with these other issues, but frankly, if we don't have a strong economy, it's very difficult to deal with all the other issues that we have out there. So I think that ought to be the top priority, and it's going to take some time because we're in a pretty big hole. But we've got to do it. The other thing that concerns me is that Ohio is falling behind. So relative to the rest of the country, Ohio's unemployment is relatively high. We're losing jobs to other states like Indiana, states like Michigan, believe it or not. So, we've got to do more to be sure the federal government is providing Ohio with the right environment. And cap and trade's a great example of that. We get hit particularly hard in Ohio because we have more coal for our electricity, which gets really hit hard by cap and trade, and we have more manufacturing.
Well, we'll see where all that goes. It'll be an interesting campaign, Rob Portman. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks for coming in.
Great.
And that is your Talk Back.